Image description. A Zoom screen recording. For the first 8 seconds, there are 3 people spotlit on screen. Ōshin Jennings Sensei, a white man in his early 40s wearing black monk's robes and a brown okesa, seated in front of a wicker or ratan screen. Tess Wenderski, a white femme presenting person in their late 20s, wearing a black long sleeve top with their brown hair up in a bun and seated in front of a gray background. And Taishin Michael Augustin, a white man in his late 30s, wearing black monk's robes and okesa, seated in front of a wall and a small bookshelf with statues and knickknacks decorating it. After 8 seconds, Ōshin Sensei is off screen, leaving just Tess, who is interpreting, and Taishin, who is speaking.
Round 2. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting me in offering these words, this talk to all of you. I was reflecting on the fact that I used to do this quite often. I was on a schedule of giving a talk like every other week for a few years. And then things changed. I'll talk about that a little bit today. And I think it was like 3 months before I gave a talk again after I moved to Milwaukee. And then it was 6 months after that. And it was another couple of months. And then it's been picking up steam. And I'm really grateful for that. It's a part of the practice that I found intimidating at first, daunting, terrifying. Like my cats when it rains, right? They run under the bed really fast. That's where I wanted to be. But in time, I found, a lot of enjoyment in it. So I'm really grateful to once again be able to do this and share this experience with all of you. I also understand that a description of me was made available on the website, but I'll offer another one just in case. So I'm a white man in his late 30s. I'm bald by choice. I can grow hair up here. I've got clear, round glasses on and many piercings in my ears and a few in my nose. And my ears are gauged to almost 1.5 inches, and there's bright yellow plugs in them today. Below that is a black okesa that sits on top of a black koromo that sits on top of a blue kimono that sits on top of a white juban that sits on top of a skin bag that's covered in lots of tattoos. So there's this interesting, juxtaposition between very decorative aspects of me and very formal aspects of me. And I celebrate that. And this morning, I'd like to talk to you about my experience with our sitting practice over the last year. Sometimes we call this the practice of Zazen. Sometimes we call it the practice of shikantaza, which means just sitting. Sometimes I call it folding my legs into a pretzel and staring at a wall. Maybe my favorite description. And I just want to share what it's been like for me and some things that I've come to understand maybe a little better than I did a year ago before I went through a pretty great transition. And I'd like to start with a story that's not about me, but about Shinryu Suzuki, who some of you might know, maybe all of you, the root teacher of the San Francisco Zen Center and their family of temples. and the root teacher of what they call the branching streams lineage. And this story, I think, takes place near Tassajara, the first Zen monastery in the West, where they've got some hot springs. And Suzuki's there, and some of his students are with him, and other people. And they're having a great time, hanging out, swimming, relaxing in the hot springs. Everyone's really enjoying themselves. And Suzuki's like, I want to join in on the fun. So I'm going to go swimming with all of them. And he strips down to whatever it is he strips down to, and he jumps in the water, only to realize he can't swim. And he starts flailing about. And in this Dharma talk where he's recounting this experience, he says this is really unsettling for him because he starts drowning. Everybody thinks, I guess, like, oh, he's just being silly, Zen Master Suzuki, whatever. But he starts drowning. And he says, I'm in the middle of the water and I'm looking up and I can't get to the surface. There's all these legs above me and I'm trying to grab the legs and I can't get any of them and I can't get to the surface. But neither can I get down to the ground, where he says, if I could, I would have started doing walking meditation. Right. And that's just like a Zen master. You're drowning, but you think if I could get to the bottom, I could do walking meditation. Right. Uh, so he's in the middle. Right? He's in this really uncomfortable middle place. I can't go up. I can't get down. I'm sort of stuck here. I don't like it. And he says that this experience of almost drowning, he doesn't drown. Eventually, people realize what's going on and pull him out. He says has a profound effect on his sitting practice, on the practice of zazen, the practice of shikantaza, just sitting. As I remembered it, he said, now, after almost drowning, I'm starting to think that I have a good practice. And I was stunned when I heard this because he's old in his life at this point. He's been a priest for many years. Only now you're just starting to have good practice. So I went and found the actual words, and I'd like to share them with you. Suzuki says, I realized that we never have good practice until we become quite serious. Because I knew that I was not dying, I was not so serious. And because I was not so serious, I had a very difficult time sitting. If I knew I was dying, I would not have struggled anymore. I would have stayed still. Because I thought I had another moment, I did not become serious. Since then, my practice has improved since almost drowning. Now I have confidence in my practice, so I have been telling you how I sit in shikantaza. We don't have to drown to have this kind of experience. There are many ways in which we can find ourselves in transition, and as a result, be reminded of what we might call the do-like existence of all things, and how special it is to have this life, and how special it is to have the opportunity to practice together like this. Near the end of the Fukan Zazengi, This is Dogen Zenji's Universal Recommendations for the Practice of Zazen. He says that form is like a dewdrop on the grass. Human life is like a flash of lightning. Transient and illusory and gone in a moment. Just like that, snap of a finger. And I felt that a lot this last year. As Ōshin mentioned in his introduction of me to all of you, I used to reside at a temple out in Pennsylvania, Ōshin Zendo, where I lived and practiced for a few years. I was a temple priest, right? I worked a little bit when I took up residency there, but gradually my work schedule got thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And I was about to stop working altogether and just be there full time, which I almost was. I worked at a hippie bookstore for 2 days a week, doing nothing but drinking coffee and looking cool in the corner next to like volumes of Foucault, right? And then things went in a different direction. My partner and I moved to Milwaukee. It was an abrupt transition, a sudden transition. And it brought with it all kinds of things. She had a job, but she didn't like it. So she had to find some new jobs and she changed a few times. I didn't have a job. I was unemployed. I was looking for a job. And all of a sudden, I went from like living for free to having a huge rent bill, other sorts of expenses. Now I need to work full time. And then I made the decision to go into a management position, which some of you know means you're always available. You might not always be on, but you're always available. And I'm processing the loss of a community, and my partner put her finger on something very important, that I kind of had an identity crisis, a spiritual crisis, a life crisis. What am I doing? I used to live in a little temple in the woods. Now I live in the big city of Milwaukee. I'm working full time. It's a whole different life. And this had an effect on my sitting practice. Eventually, it has the same kind of effect that Suzuki's Almost Drowning had. I gained new confidence and understanding in what this sitting practice is all about. But before that, it's a roller coaster. And I thought I would share a bit of what that experience was like with a poem. When I give talks, I like to use poetry. That way I can lean on somebody else who's very good with language to do the storytelling for me. So this is a poem from the Sufi poet Rumi that I'd like to share with all of you. The moon swooped down the dawn sky and spotted me. Like a falcon, it snatched me up and whisked me across the sky. I looked for myself, my hands, my feet, saw nothing there. Steeped in moonlight, flesh and bone were invisible as soul. Seeing only the moon, I journeyed through mysteries. To the highest of them all, eternity, eternal life. Call it union, call it shoreless light, sea of radiance flooding sight. 9 spheres of heaven drowned there, the ship of my being went down. Reason burst back up, bobbing through choppy waves, babbling, boasting. I saw this, then that. I saw that, then this. The sea surged and foamed. From every bubble, an image sprang, a body took shape, marked by mind, sentient, conscious, rising from the sea for a spell, a life, before vanishing among the waves, a flash. How to soar with the moon and drown in the sea? Listen to Shams of Tabriz. Shoreless light lives on his lips. This is what it felt like for like the whole year. There are these moments, very few, where I am swept up, flying alongside the moon. As Dogen puts it, body and mind have dropped off. I'm not here. Everything's great. This is what I think some of us, certainly me, expect when we come to Zen practice. We want our sitting experience to be like that, blissful, peaceful. We're at one with everything. Woohoo! And then what invariably happens? Reason bursts up. If reason is too abstract for you, we're talking about the ocean here. Just think of a really big whale. It's perfect ocean landscape, but all of a sudden, whoosh, out comes this whale. Bobbling through choppy waves, babbling, boasting, I saw this, then that, I saw that, then this. If a whale is not your preferred animal, we can lean on the mind being like a wild horse and our emotions being like monkeys that swing from tree to tree. All of a sudden, there's so much activity. And I don't like it. um, this great period of feeling unsettled in my life brought about a lot of unsettlement in my sitting practice. Um, and I really faced the question, not so much why is this happening? Generally speaking, why isn't the most helpful question to ask in Zen, but how can I work with this? How can I work with this? How can I take it and transform it into something different? It'll happen on its own, but maybe I can do a little bit of encouraging in that process. So I went and I reread the Fukan Zazengi, um, Dogen's once more short essay on the universal recommendations for the practice of Zazen. And I thought maybe here I can find some assistance with working with a really noisy sitting experience. Surely there's something I can learn from this. And one thing I discovered is that my sitting practice, in a way, all of our sitting practices, but my sitting practice was happening, we sometimes say, from the eyebrows up, or from the ears up, or from the shoulders up. It's all happening up here. And I've forgotten about the rest of this body. It's really the whole thing sitting on this cushion. It's not just my head on a cushion, though it sometimes feels that way. It's this whole body sitting on the cushion. And so, okay, I'm too much in my head. I need to connect with my body again. And Dogen is telling me that I need to connect with the body. He writes in the very beginning, it's like first or second paragraph of the essay. If you are wandering about in your head, you may miss the vital path of letting your body leap. If you're wandering about in your head, you may miss the vital path of letting your body leap. Cool. How do I let my body leap? I want to do that. Um, so I'm reading through other parts of the essay, trying to find an answer. And I find other things that are very poetic, so they speak to a certain part of what I find enjoyable, but they're not exactly helpful. Elsewhere, Dogen writes, take the backward step and turn the light inward. Okay. Can you say more? He says, let body and mind drop off and your original face appear. Okay, but can you say more? I felt like I was getting a little closer to finding an answer that would help pierce through some really cloudy circumstances when I read, let go of all involvements and let myriad things rest. It's a little better, letting go. It's a bodily activity, bodily practice that I can engage in while sitting, getting up from sitting, sitting down for sitting. And then I came across this instruction. Dogen writes, take a breath and exhale fully. Then sway your body left to right. Maybe we can all do that together. Take a breath and exhale fully. And sway your body left to right. Our root teacher, Kobuchino Otagawa, in his guidance for sitting practice, sometimes encourages rocking forward and backward too. Can do that. And you can even spin like in circular motions. Come to a Dharma talk at No Barriers and you learn how to dance on your cushion. Okay, this I can do. The more poetic stuff kind of flies over my head, but take a breath, exhale fully, and sway your body. This leaps out to me like the whale leaping out of the ocean, babbling about, causing a lot of noise and activity when I'm sitting on the cushion. And so I ask myself, what is the significance of this inhalation, this exhalation, this swaying, this dancing on the cushion? And one response that's come up for me is it's the embodiment or the expression or the recognition. You can use any of these words here and more of complete and utter confidence in yourself, just as you are. And it takes all of that, nothing more than that, to settle in right here with what's happening, whatever that might be. To let go of all involvements and let myriad things rest requires great trust in yourself, I'm finding. Especially in this job I work, right? I'm like a barista at a coffee shop, typical thing for a guy who got degrees in philosophy and then went to study Zen. Now I work in coffee. Most of my coworkers are like in their early 20s. You can't manage these people. These people. That's not fair. But if I can trust myself, then I don't need to feel like I'm running around putting my fingers in everything, trying to control it, get a grip on it, only to have it squeeze and move out like a used puck of coffee grounds that I just used to extract espresso. I can take this seat, this sitting posture, and I can rest and let the wild horse mind run free across the field and let the monkey that is my emotion swing from tree to tree and know that it's okay because whatever comes up or how long this experience continues, I can meet it. I can tend to it. I can take care of it if it needs taking care of. It's the same thing I thought that Siddhartha, the historical Buddha, does under the Bo tree 2,600 years ago. When he sits down and vows not to stand up until he's realized enlightenment after this long ascetic journey that almost leaves him a corpse, he's bombarded in telling of the stories by all these doubts and fears and all this activity. And one of the things that he does as all of it's happening, in particular when this demon, Mara, shows up and says, "Who are you, Siddhartha, that has a right to take this seat?" He takes his hand and he touches it down to the earth. It's the Bhumi Sparsa mudra. I can't spell that, Tess. I'm sorry. It's just another way of taking a deep breath and fully exhaling and swaying right to left. I have complete and utter confidence in myself just as I am in this moment, and I can sit in this seat right here and meet whatever is going to come my way. This little bit of instruction is why and how Zazen is simply the Dharma gate of enjoyment and ease. Maybe we're not resting in bliss and peacefulness, but we're resting in this upright posture that's a sign of confidence in who we are, trust in ourselves, and great faith that's essential to Zen practice. And so to come back to the sentence that gripped me at the beginning of the Fukan Zazengi, if you are wandering about in your head, you may miss the vital path of letting your body leap. It occurred to me that your body isn't leaping free and clear of all the activity that's happening while you're sitting on the cushion. It's leaping right into it, showing up for it. Here I am, ready to go. I find it unsurprising that this is where I ended up in thinking about this talk. And the last couple of months in this year of transition, there was a time when I started to hear these teachings about the importance of trust, confidence, and faith. And I thought, I don't have any of that. Um, I remember coming across a line from Koben that says, if you don't have this, you can't sit zazen even for 1 minute. And I thought to myself, what have I been doing for like more than 10 years? um, and so as I start to bring this talk to a close, I just want to talk a little bit about that. And even though I'm speaking from my experience, I'm just going to assert that it holds true for all of you as well. We just spent 60 minutes sitting together. You all have this great confidence and trust in yourself, um, as evidenced by the fact that you just sat zazen. You did it. Um, so it's sometimes said that there are three things that are essential for Zen practice. There's great faith, or great trust, or great confidence. You can use those words interchangeably. I'm comfortable with that. You might want to draw distinctions, that's fine. There's great doubt. That's the second one. It's not a hindering doubt, but an inquisitive doubt. There's a lot of things that show up and look one way, we might say on the surface, and it's a doubt that encourages us to look at them differently. Looks this way right now. What happens if I go over here? What happens if I go over there? What happens if I just stay with it and see what comes up? It's a willingness to engage in constant investigation. Sometimes this is called beginner's mind or don't know mind. It's great doubt. And great determination. A willingness to, as my first teacher put it, Ōshin Sensei, just keep going. This is the most important teaching I ever received from him. I would go into Dokusan, frustrated, in tears, working on this koan, trying to figure out what's going on with Mu, and he would just smile and say, just keep going. Just keep going. And it's these latter two, great doubt and great determination, that have been at the forefront of my practice for the last year. I was feeling a lot of uncertainty about what was showing up. I was feeling very shaky, very unsettled. Again, not unlike what I imagined Suzuki felt in this middle place in the water. I couldn't get up and get air and feel okay, and I couldn't go down to the bottom and do kin. Just kind of flailing. And yet I just kept going because I didn't know what else to do. Just kept sitting, just kept practicing. And I discovered that as I kept sitting, as I kept practicing, as I kept reading, as I kept studying, as I kept looking for community and talking with friends and family members, and eventually a new teacher, a guy who bears a striking resemblance to me, is trying not to smile on his Zoom screen. I was able to reconnect with that great faith. I found that it was underneath the doubt and the confidence supporting them. And that I couldn't have done those two things unless I had confidence that somehow this would all turn out in a different way. I won't say a better way than how it had been. I was able to find once more sitting as a bodily practice by letting the body leap. These deep breaths and complete exhales may not always yield a sea of radiance flooding sight, as Rumi puts it. But by swaying side to side, letting all involvements and myriad things rest, we can remember that continually we're steeped in moonlight, always steeped in moonlight. This precious due life existence that we've been given, this opportunity to practice together with one another, all happens in the gentle light of the moon. Thank you.